let's get back to what I was saying. Let's just get back to what I was saying. Let's get on. We got to talk about Cliven Bundy. We got to talk about Cliven, the white supremacist Bundy. Because Cliven, a lot of people in the dominant society are trying to. Oh yeah, the whole black Jew crime. I forgot to talk about that. I'm glad you reminded me. I feel like a hair is in my nose. I'm not digging for boogers. You ever feel like there's a hair in your nose that you can't get out? And I know I'm looking like I just hit some fucking cocaine and shit. I'm like, but there's a hair in my nose I can't get out and it's tickling my nose. I'm sorry for digging. But yeah, another thing about Donald Sterling, he made some comment about the Jews, blacks and Jews and all this stuff. And he was talking about the black Jews. And this is something that just solidified his white supremacist views. He was talking about, well, the Jews, black Jews over in Israel, they get treated like dogs. And then the girlfriend was like, are you trying to say you don't want me to bring blacks to the games? Are you trying to say that black Jews are beneath white Jews? She said something to that effect. And Sterling was like, 100%. Absolutely. 150%. Yes, they're beneath them. So if there's any doubt that this man is a white supremacist, that just goes out the window. This man is a bleeding white supremacist. But we got to get on Bundy, Cliven Bundy, because a lot of people have forgotten about Cliven Bundy, and I have not forgotten about Cliven Bundy. Now, some people are trying to make it seem like, and for those who don't know, Cliven Bundy was this guy in Nevada. He had this little standoff with the federal government because he was grazing cattle on public land that we black people help pay taxes for, by the way. I want to point that out. Public land that we, as American taxpayers, especially black folks, we pay for that land. So Cliven owes money and the government was going to go in and move the cattle, but then there was this militia movement. There were like hundreds of militia guys came up there with guns and had a standoff with the government. Now let me go here about the standoff, because see, they're making it seem like they did this real brave, bold move. You get it? They're making it seem like they went up there and did this really brave and bold move and stood up against the government. They leave one thing out. The government ended up backing down. Now, the government didn't back down because all of these redneck soldiers. The reason why the government backed down is because these fucking militia group, redneck, white supremacists, they took women and children up there. And they pretty much hid behind the women and children. They said this. They put the women and children out there in front of them. And they said if the government starts shooting, they'll get the women and kids first. And that's going to go all around the world. Which to me is such a bitch-made move. So don't give them props as if they were like on some brave. They weren't that brave. They did some real fuck shit. They put their women and children out there to get shot. So the government, the soldiers was like, hey, we're not going to shoot no women and kids. We're not going to shoot no women and kids. Come on. All right, we leave. If you guys are that cowardly, keep the cows in the land. It was that type of thing. It was effective. It was effective. Well, we can't do that because we put women and children out there in the civil rights movement and they beat the shit out of all them women. So we stopped doing that. That's why I get on when black feminists start talking about, well, the Black Power movement, they left women out because they were beating the shit out of women. So the brother said, hey, y'all stay home. We're going to go out there with our guns. See, the Black Panthers, they stood up with their guns and made the women stay home. That to me was powerful. They should have been more strategic about it. You did? But don't let those dudes fool you that they went up there and they backed the government down. They went and put their women and children up there in the forefront. So let's be very clear on that. Let's be very clear on that. Let's be very clear on that. Do your research on that. Wasn't they were some brave and get the fuck out of here. That was a real cowardly move. And even Dr. Phil Valentine said this whole thing about opening a door for women, that's not really about chivalry. That came out of Europe as a fear tactic. Because in the African culture, the man always went outside first. Not because he was trying to dominate the woman. It was about protection. The whole concept, what Brother Phil Valentine said in Europe in ancient times, when there were dangers outside, what they would do, they would make the woman go outside first. So if there was any kind of danger, she would get hurt first. You dig what I'm saying? So they've always put the women out there to get fucked over. Those white supremacists are people who think like that. When you look at I was in Spain and I went to the Spanish Inquisition Museum. They did all types of vile shit to women. They were torturing women. They did all types of shit. Even over here with the Salem witch hunt. You know, so the women, the white women, a lot of them, when the white supremacists get them, white women know what an ass whooping feels like. They'll sacrifice them at the drop of a hat too. So we just got to understand history. Yeah, but they didn't want a situation like, you know, the Mormons, of course. So they said, okay, if they're willing to put their women and kids out here, we'll just chill out. So because of that, the government backed down. A lot of these militia groups and the Cliven Bundys, these dudes started feeling emboldened. They felt like, okay, we done backed the government down. They started getting real bold. They started feeling real bold. And when they started feeling real bold, and this is the month of April, and now they made Cliven Bundy this big hero. He's on Fox News. He's literally doing press conferences every day. The right-wing conservatives and all of these white supremacists, they've made this guy a hero. A lot of Republicans, politicians have backed this guy, and they're making him out to be this grassroots folk hero. So now that he's all emboldened, he's backed the government down. All of a sudden, out the blue, he does an interview talking about, so another thing about the Negro. And people are like, what? What? What do you mean about, where is this coming from? Think about this. A lot of people are like, why are you even talking about the Negro? Where in the hell does this come from? Because it seemed like it just came out of nowhere, didn't it? Once they got bold, now they got to get down to the real business. Another thing about the Negro. Now, a lot of y'all people were like, where in the hell is that coming from? What does black people have to do with any of this stuff? And I'm going to break that down. I want y'all to really feel me. I want y'all to really feel me. I went to Chipotle. I know my garbage can is full. But Cliven Bundy went into this whole thing where, you know, I was driving past the government housing in North Las Vegas, and I seen some black people outside of a house, and they just didn't have nothing to do. And I was wondering, would they be better off in slavery? That'd at least give them something to do. And people were like, uh-oh. I wasn't shocked at all. I was just surprised that he said it, but not really, because now he's bold. So he thinks, okay, now I can get back to doing what I really wanted to do. And people, first they tried to clean it up. At first they tried to clean up what he was saying. Especially Alex White Supremacist Jones. Alex Jones is the white supremacist. Fuck Alex Jones. And tell him I said it. And my dude, Professor Griff, goes on the show a lot. I love Professor Griff. Professor Griff goes on the show a lot. That's cool. I think KRS-One has been on his show before. But as far as me, fuck Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a suspected white supremacist. He says a lot of real slick shit about black people. Alex Jones says a lot of real slick shit about black people with his fake ass. He's another race hustler. He's another one of those, the race hustlers, the blacks are going to do this. And he throws out a bunch of bullshit in order to get people riled up, but he never provides a reason, nor does he provide a solution. It's that whole, the government's going to get you. The government's going to get you. Oh, the blacks and the government. He's a con artist. He's a con artist. And he always, well, that Trayvon Martin stuff, yeah, it really came out with the whole Trayvon Martin stuff. Go back and listen to that stuff. Every blue moon, he'll try to say some stuff positive about black people, the Illuminati and the Rockefellers, and they were going to try to target the black community, But he's another white supremacist. He's another white supremacist, dude. He's another white supremacist. Don't get fooled by him. Don't get fooled by him. All right? And he had Cliven Bundy on his show. Like, well, Cliven Bundy, it was a lot of what he said was taken out of context. It was taken out of context. They take these words out of context. So Cliven was on his show. That's how that son of a bitch talked. Just a gargly mouth, that fucking voice. A lot of people say Alex Jones is an informant. I mean, he just spews out a whole bunch of the government is going to get you theories, all of this shit. Most of it ain't true. He's another white supremacist. But he was like, Cliven Bundy was taken out of context, okay? He was taken out of context. His words were taken out of context. We're gonna interview him right now. We're gonna interview him right now and put his words in the right context, okay? Because see, we got the blacks and the Al Sharptons out here in the world. We got all the Al Sharpton and the Jesse Jacksons out here in the world. Now, shut the fuck up, dude. You gargly mouth fucking redneck. You gargly mouth fucking redneck white supremacist, Alex Jones. Tell him I said it. Fuck Alex Jones. I'm not scared of these white supremacists. I'm not scared of none of them. But like I said, he had Cliven on his show, and Cliven basically said the same thing. Cliven said the exact same thing. I just said, I'm not a racist. I just think that the blacks would just be better off in slavery. So he said, nobody's taking the context out. He keeps saying the same thing. Every interview Cliven Bundy does, he says the exact same thing. Say Dick Gregory was on Alex Jones. He probably was. Dick Gregory does a lot of interviews. Dick Gregory was on Arsenio Hall the other night. Shout out to Arsenio. I love Arsenio's show. Shout out to brother Dick Gregory, who's going to be in my movie Hidden Colors 3. Yeah. But Cliven has been saying the exact same thing over and over again. And he keeps, and that's why they said, okay, we just got to back up from this dude, because you got to understand, a lot of these dudes, these white supremacists out here, they get most of their rhetoric from the Fox News channels and from the Alex Jones. They get most of their rhetoric from the Rush Limbaughs. So really, their rhetoric, they can't really filter their racism that well unless they hear it from Sean Hannity or O'Reilly. See, O'Reilly and Hannity and all these guys, they know how to filter their white supremacist views. And they know how to word it a certain way so that it won't seem blatantly racist. And what happens is, you got to understand this, and this is why, if you go back and listen to the interview I did with Johnny, there was a closet white supremacist I did a debate with, and you can see that on YouTube. Type in Tariq Nasheed debates a closet white supremacist, and I did it right here on Ustream. We were doing a live show a couple of years ago, and there was a guy who called up who was a closeted white supremacist. He had all of these negative views about black people, and he got bold enough, and he was polite, but he got bold enough to challenge me. I guess he got all of his little Fox News bullet points, and he decided to call up and challenge me, and I gave his ass that work. Because what happened was, and this is what happens, these talking points you see on Fox News and Rush Limbaugh and all that, the fact that you never see anybody counter it, you think that you got some up on black folks. When you hear these bullet points about black people got BET and that's racist, or black people on welfare, but you never see anybody who counters that on television. That's because Fox News, that's a propaganda machine. So when you talk to a real black person who knows what the fuck is up, and you start spewing those Fox News bullet points, you're going to get that work. So the thing is, Cliven Bundy is one of those type of people. He ran out of rhetoric. He ran out of the code words. See, right now you got to use a lot of code words to be a white supremacist. And the fact that they're interviewing Cliven Bundy every day, there's only so many codes he can use. He done ran out of code words. Now, the real him started coming out. And that's the thing. If you want to expose a white supremacist, let them keep talking. Let them keep talking. Nancy Pelosi, I think it was Nancy Pelosi. She did an interview of when she did like a documentary about when Barack Obama was getting elected, and she went around to like these Tea Party conventions and all that stuff. And she was interviewing different white people around the country. And, you know, she just put the camera on them. I think it was Nancy. I think it was her daughter, somebody connected with Nancy Pelosi, I think. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. But she did these interviews with white people around the country who, you know, they opposed Barack Obama. And many of them, they were using all the code words. Oh, big spending, they'll take our guns, and, you know, money this and money that. Just all types of stuff. Hold on a second. They were saying all of these code words. You know, Barack Obama, he's not really an American. He's Kenyan. Where's his birth certificate? You dig what I'm saying? It was all that rhetoric. But then she just kept the camera rolling and she just kept talking to him. She just kept talking to some of these people. And the more she kept the camera going and the more she kept asking questions, the real them started coming out. Because then they started running out of the whole birth certificate shit and the dad is from Kenya and is he really American and was he in school in Indonesia? They ran out of all that shit. And she kept talking to him, and then finally they got to the point where I just don't want to vote for him because I don't want to vote for a nigger. They just came on out with it. I just don't want to see a nigger in the White House. Let me just stop playing games. When you mess with a white supremacist, they don't really want to talk in codes. White supremacists hate talking in codes. They don't like this talking in code shit. They really don't like it. They do it because they have to. The white supremacists don't want to talk in codes. They really want to say, they got nigger on the tip of their tongue at any given moment. They are ready to spew nigger. Black people know. You can look at a white person and tell when they just want to spew nigger at you. It's just a look that they have. Black people know that look. Like if you cut a white person, you cut a white person off in traffic and they give you that nigger look, like you drive up and then they have to stop on their brakes and then you look at them like, oh my bad, and they look at you like, it's like on the tip of their tongue. Every black person knows that look. Or you're having a debate with somebody white and then you get one up on them and then they give you that look. Oh, we got trolls in here tonight. Okay, we got a lot. Okay, let's please. That's another thing. When we're talking about white supremacy, the trolls usually come out. Diva, can you handle these trolls, sweetie? Can we handle these trolls? Let me get one more call real quick, because I'm not through talking about Bundy. We got a lot to talk about.
What's going on, man?
What's up?
It's S1 calling from New York.
What's your name?
It's S1 calling from New York.
Your name is say your name slowly.
Success One.
Success One. Okay, there you go. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to give you a shout out, man, because I was kind of called before, but shout out for that Alex Jones thing, because nobody talks about him, and he always seemed kind of funny, and I know Griffin like messed with him a little bit, but something about him always just seemed kind of real fucked up. Like it was like, so when you pointed it out, it just changed what I was even calling in for. So I want to give you a shout out for that, because he's on some real funny shit. Like he is. I appreciate you for that.
Much respect, man. Thank you. Yeah, he's another white supremacist. I don't fuck with Alex Jones. He's another white supremacist. He said too many slick shit. He says way too much slick shit about black people, as far as I'm concerned. He says too much slick shit about black folks. I don't play with white supremacy. I really don't. I do not play with white supremacists. I don't. I do not. I'm gonna get a couple of calls. Y'all just get to the point. Get real quick with the calls. What's up? Who's calling?
Hey, what's up, Tariq?
What's up? Who is this?
This is Wayne calling out of Torrance.
What's up, man? What's going on? What you doing down in Torrance with all the Asian brothers and sisters?
Yeah, they out here. You know, I'm blending in, trying to.
Yes, sir. Shout out to the Bloods out there in Torrance. But what's on your mind?
Oh, man, what you said about they turning the Mexicans into them white folks, man. How Donald Sterling was telling this girl, you need to be a little docile Latina or white girl.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's telling her to be a white girl. What kind of shit is that? You did?
Yeah, but I was looking on the. I filled out a little government application. It had 4 choices: black/African, Asian, other, or white and Latino was in the same section, white/Latino.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You got to understand what they do is because real white numbers are dwindling. So what they've always done was redefine what a white person is. That's a very common thing. So certain groups are classified as white at certain times. It's some real socio-political shit, but it's real heavy, but it's real effective, but it's real deep, man. But thanks for the call, fam. Double Diva, I remodded you again. But like I said about Cliven Bundy, though, I'm not done with him. See, with Cliven Bundy, the reason why he went into this whole, the problem with the blacks thing, is because that's the real point of all of these militia groups. I want y'all to feel me on this. That's the real point of all of these militia groups. Why do you think, let me ask y'all this. These so-called militia groups and these extreme right-wingers, why do you think they're so anti-government? What are they upset with the government about? Why do you think they're so, the government, we got to get the government out of our business? The federal government, all that federal government. I want y'all to think about this. The federal government is trying to take away our freedoms. Freedom for what? What freedom? Think about this. Hold on, hold on, Bunchy. You people, okay, Bunchy is, okay, hold on, I'm about to ban Bunchy myself. Okay, there we go. Okay, I banned Bunchy myself. But anyway, like I said, why do you think these militia groups and the Cliven Bundys and all these people are on this, the government is taking our freedom? What freedoms are being taken away from you? As a white person, police aren't really messing with you. You're not being denied jobs or none of that stuff. You're not being denied. What are you being denied? You can't say black people are getting all of this stuff. You can't use the whole welfare thing. More white people get welfare than black people. There are government benefits that white people get that black people don't even know about. There's all types of government set-asides and incentives that white people get that black folks don't get. People like to point at welfare and food stamps, but white people get more Section 8. You get way more welfare than white people. And what's very interesting, the people who always complain about black people being in the ghetto in the hood, these are the people who live in the millions of Section 8 trailer homes in middle America. Black folks are not living in those trailer homes. It's almost a deflection. They like to deflect on black folks. So these, Double D, you're not modded? Hold on. Okay, I don't know why it's not making you a mod, young lady. Let me double check. Let me see something. See if I'm logged in. Hold on. Allow links. Okay, I don't know why it's not letting you be a mod, Double Diva. Okay. So I don't know why it's not letting you mod up. All right, but I'll get them if I can. I'll get some of these dudes. Now, what was I saying? I was talking about these militia groups. These militia groups, they keep talking about the government's taking their freedom. They're going to take my guns. And no, they're not. The reason why these people are so anti-government is because they think the government is going to stop them from practicing their freedom to practice white supremacy against black folks. That's the bottom line. Let me say that again. The freedom that they're worried about is the freedom to practice white supremacy over black folks. Let me say that one third time so y'all can feel me. The freedom that they're talking about is the government taking away their freedom to practice white supremacy over black people. When you look at all of these people who blew up federal buildings like the Timothy McVeigh, all of these right-wing groups that's anti-government, Ruby Ridge, all of these anti-government right-wingers, do you notice all of them have this anti-black slant to their rhetoric? All of them have this anti-black slant to their rhetoric. Why is that? Why does anti-government and anti-black go hand in hand? Think about this. There's a book that a lot of these militia groups and white supremacists, there's one book that they all go to. There's a book that came out in the 1970s called The Turner Diaries. I got a copy of it upstairs. So this book is about how it was written as a novel, but it was really a blueprint on what these white supremacist groups can do to get back to oppressing black folks. It's a very anti-black book, and it's a very anti-government book. And it was all about how the government is coming in to take their guns and how the Negroes were going to take over and all this old bullshit. So a lot of them go back to this book. But that whole movement, this whole militia movement and that mindset, that goes back to the 1800s. I want y'all to feel me on this. In the 1800s, after the Civil War, the South was toe up. South was toe up. A lot of the white Southerners in the South, they were pissed off at black folks. Why? Because black folks sabotaged the South and helped the North win. The South was sabotaged by black people. When the Civil War was going on, and the brother who called up earlier, he touched on this. The Civil War wasn't about freeing black people whatsoever. It wasn't about freeing black people. The Civil War was about the South was about to secede from the North because the South was becoming very powerful. The North said, okay, we can't let you do that because we'll fall off, so we're going to have a war. So they started warring. The South was winning the Civil War. The South was winning the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln said, okay, let me throw a wrench in the game since the South is winning. Because the black people in the South, they were taking care of the families. They were making sure the family was straight. The South was actually helping. The Africans in the South were helping the white people fight because it wasn't about slavery at the time. So the South was actually winning. They had black people holding them down. Abraham Lincoln put out the word. He did something that the Spanish did. He did something that Britain did. When Britain was fighting the U.S., Britain put out the word, you fight with us, you get freedom. Spain did the same thing. Spain said, look, if you fight for us, you'll get freedom. As a matter of fact, all you black people, come on down to Florida. Florida was a free state when it was owned by Spain. So a lot of black people went to Florida, not to Canada and to the north through the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was in Florida. A lot of people don't talk about that, but I digress. But Abraham Lincoln did the same thing. He said, okay, look, I'm going to free the slaves. And then when black people heard that, black people started sabotaging the South. Black people became spies for the North. So black people helped the North beat the South. And black people, after the Civil War, were still in the South. Because again, if the North was trying to fight for black folks, the North would have allowed black people to go up there. They didn't want black people up there in the North. They didn't give a fuck about black people up there in the North or South. But what happened after the Civil War, white people were pissed at black people. And they're still pissed off at black people to this day because of that. That's why those Confederate flag dudes, they're still salty over the Civil War and black people sabotaging them. What happened directly after the Civil War, feel me, the North sent federal troops in the South to protect black people. Because white people wanted to fuck black people up for sabotaging the Civil War. But there were federal troops down in the South protecting black people for about 10 years. And what happened was in 1877, there was something that happened called I think it's the Southern Compromise. A lot of black historians call it the big betrayal, the black betrayal. There was a guy running for president, Rutherford B. Hayes. I think that's his name. Rutherford B. Hayes was running for president. And he made a deal with the South because at the time, all the people in the South were Democrats. It were Dixiecrats. He made a deal with the South. He said, look, if y'all vote for me, because I'm a Republican, but if you Democrats vote for me, put me in office, I'll give you what you want, because I know y'all want to get the troops out of the South so you can have your way with the niggers. So if you vote for me and put me in office, I'll put a Democrat on the Senate and I'll take all the troops out of the South. So they voted for Rutherford B. Hayes, made him president, and then he pulled all the federal troops out of the South, which is what the Southerners wanted. The Southerners were real mad about those troops being down there in the South protecting those black folks. The Southerners, they were going to start little militia groups and all this to get those troops out of the South. That's where all that militia group shit came from, because those federal troops were in the South keeping the white Southerners in check. When they took the troops out of the South, the Southerners said, oh, now, nigga, who's going to protect you now? They start fucking black people up. That's where all the lynching started. The black codes, they start beating the shit out of black folks. They start giving black folks the business for the next 100 years. Until the 1960s, basically. They had free reign over black folks with their foot in black people's asses until 1965. Then they had to put the federal troops back in the South. That's why in the 1960s, you would see federal troops walking those little black kids to school. Remember that? Go look at some of that footage of troops. You got to walk black kids to school in the 1960s. So now these militia groups have come back up, still mad at the government. They're mad at the government for taking away their freedoms and all that. They want the freedom to practice white supremacy over black folks. And that's the thing. That's why this dude, Cliven Bundy, just pulled this whole thing about black folks out of his ass. It just came out of nowhere. That's where that came from. So we got to understand how that game works. All of that, it goes hand in hand. That white supremacy and that whole anti-government thing goes hand in hand. Oh, Steve Coakley warned y'all about Alex Jones too? I can believe it. Steve Coakley was the truth. Steve Coakley was the truth. But Alex Jones is full of shit. He ain't nothing but a white supremacist. Black people stopped co-signing Alex Jones. This dude has said so much slick shit about black folks. He's a white supremacist. Fuck Alex Jones, dude. He's no friend of the black community. This dude, I don't deal with those double... Just like Glenn Beck, they'll have this Black History moment and all this old stupid shit, and then say something real slick about black folks. Black folks get tricked by that too much. Just because a white person does something nice, that doesn't mean that they're not practicing white supremacy. And again, all white people are not white supremacists. And that's the thing. Certain people were like, well, Cliven Bundy is not really a white supremacist. He's out of touch. He's a little out of touch, but I wouldn't call him a white supremacist. Now, Donald Sterling is a white supremacist. Now, a lot of the white supremacists don't mind throwing Donald Sterling under the bus because he's Jewish. So they have a whole thing about Jewish people too. So they don't have a problem throwing him under the bus. But I say this, Cliven Bundy is more dangerous than Donald Sterling. Because see, Donald Sterling, he knows the shit he's saying is fucked up. Donald Sterling knows he's a white supremacist. He knows it. He knows the shit he's saying is fucked up. Even when he's talking to his girl, he knows it's fucked up. But he's like, it's fucked up, but it is what it is. She's telling him it's fucked up. He's like, but hey, that's just how it is, sweetie. That's just the culture. That sweetie, honey, baby, that's just the culture. He knows what he's saying is fucked up. He knows he don't give a shit. He's like, yeah, I'm a white supremacist, but it is what it is. Cliven Bundy, he doesn't even realize how much of a white supremacist he is. It's like in his subconscious mind. Cliven, it's just ingrained in him where he doesn't even realize it because because he's not fucked up with it, that he's not a white supremacist. That's the thing with Cliven. Cliven is like, no, I got colored friends. I'm cool with the niggers. It's that type of racism where he don't even think he's being racist because he's a nice guy. See, the thing is, white supremacy is not always about aggression. It ain't all about smacking people up and beating them up and calling them names. That's not all white supremacy is about. White supremacy is a theory and practice where you internalize a thought pattern that you are superior over black people. And that can be subtle, it can be aggressive, it can be more direct, it can be passive. But it's still effective, and the passive white supremacy is the worst kind. Because that's the kind of, imagine Cliven Bundy on a court case where there's a black person, and the black person is on trial, and Cliven Bundy is on the jury. Cliven is not going to think he's thinking like a white supremacist when he sentences this dude to life for something he didn't do. Oh man, I mean, Cliven Bundy, he was like, yeah, and the stuff he said, he's so racist, it's almost comical, but he doesn't realize it. Because his racism has become so normalized. Because see, the thing is with Cliven Bundy, the difference between him and Donald Sterling interacts with black people every day. So Donald Sterling knows what to say and what not to say publicly. Not only does he interact with all of these ball players and coaches every day, he's laying up with a black woman. So he knows what to say and what not to say. He knows what he's saying is fucked up. Cliven Bundy, on the other hand, he don't know no black people. He don't interact with black people. This is why he's using old Jim Crow terms. Well, I'm nice to the coloreds. The niggers are fine with me. I mean, he don't even interact with black people enough to know that you ain't even supposed to say that. Just because I say a black boy or colored, that don't mean I'm racist. He actually said, if y'all think I'm racist for saying that, if you're offended by that, well, then you don't really believe in Dr. King's dream. He's like misquoting Dr. King and Rosa Parks. Well, Rosa Parks said, I can call you colored. Rosa Parks didn't march on Washington just so I couldn't call you colored. I could watch Cliven Bundy all day. Let him talk. Let this motherfucker talk. I can watch him all day. You know, you say O'Reilly racist. You know what? I don't know if Bill O'Reilly is racist. Bill O'Reilly is a hustler. Bill O'Reilly, he knows that you can make a buck spewing racial rhetoric. But I don't think that he is a racist. I think he's a pretend white supremacist. You got to understand that. There's a lot of money in spewing white supremacist rhetoric. There's a lot of money in spewing this anti-black rhetoric. It's always been like that. Because that's the fabric of this society. The want and need to feel superior over black people. That's a strong desire. And you can make a lot of money on that. Saying that black people are the problem. There's a lot of money in that. Is Bunchy still in here? Bunchy, call up, brother, because you in here just trolling your little heart out, Bunchy. Call up, Bunchy. Say what's on your mind, man. You don't have to troll in the room. Come on, Bunchy. I want Bunchy to call up. I want Bunchy to call up. We in here deep. We are in here deep. Bunchy, call up, man. The number is 818-850-5404. Bunchy, if you're brave, call up.